let's move on to Steeler. So you're famously on that first Steeler record with an unknown Yngwie Malmsteen, a relatively unknown Ron Keel to the rest of the world. Tell us first, tell me your first impressions of Yngwie when you met him as a person and as a player. Because he's like 19 years old when he comes over here, isn't he?
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah.
Does he speak English?
Yeah, he spoke some English. Yeah.
Okay.
We went to the airport to pick him up. Me, Ron, and Mark. In the road crew, and he comes walking down the ramp out of the plane. Now, that's a different person from the person we spoke to on the phone when Mike Varney did the three-way phone conference and introduced us to Yngwie over the phone. Over the phone, he was like this, yeah, man, I can't wait to get there and be in your band and a real hard charger, all upbeat and forward. Yeah. Let's do this. And then the guy gets off the plane and he's coming down the ramp and he's like the hair flip thing like this, and all the necklaces with the pentagrams and dark stuff on. It's like the Viking has arrived. That was the impression I got. Like it was too cool for cool, like that. And how do I put this? We're interested. We heard his tapes. Mike Varney played his tapes. Ron was already talking to Varney about, because once I was solidified in the band, okay, now we need a lead guitarist, because Ron had scrapped the whole lineup, and he saw my ad in Music Connection magazine or something, and so I met with Ron and they gave me the songs to learn and like that. So now Ron and Mark and I had already had all the songs down, so now it's time to bring in the guitar. So Ron got in touch with Mike Varney and got us, Yngwie Malmsteen. And we had to rent extra gear. All of the gear that Steeler had, all belonged to the rest of the band. The truck, the lights, the trusses, all of the gear. When Ron let that band lineup go, that all went away. So there was no gear, there was no lights, there was no PA. It was all, we had to rent stuff now, like that. And so Yngwie got his guitar, and we got to rent an extra amp. I think we were renting stuff from SIR, and I had my own amp. I had my own gear. Mark had his drums, like that, out of storage, and we just started to work on the songs like that. And at one point, I'll never forget this. We stopped in the rehearsal. We were the only 4 white guys living in an all black neighborhood in LA. And so the neighborhood could hear us rehearsing through the walls. So there were a couple of forays of us trying to chase people out of the property area. We're trying to, look to see if they can steal anything. We were the only white guys in the neighborhood there. And it was, it was a neighborhood of concern, I'll say that. So anyway, so we get the gear. We got some gear for Yngwie. He had his guitar and whatnot. And we're rehearsing. And he stops at one point and he says, hey, man, can we do something about these songs to make it a little more interesting? Because they're really quite fucking boring. It was that quiet in the room. That 4,000 pound elephant in the room. And I looked up at Mark on the drum riser. He looked up at the ceiling. I looked at Ron. And if you know in acting what a slow burn is, somebody stands like the actors in the old 20s and 30s, like Ben Turpin, they do this, you can see the fire coming out of their ears. Ron did that. Ron Keel did that. He just was stunned that Yngwie actually said this to him. And it was just that elephant in the room. Oh, God. Ron goes, okay, man. Okay, fine. Like that. The next day, he was already calling guitar players in. Well, Yngwie was living with us, and we were auditioning other guitar players for like a week. Like that, and Yngwie had to sit there in the other room and listen to us, audition guitar players. That was really awkward.
Wow.
So Yngwie was there while you're auditioning guitar players?
He had no place else to go. We all lived in 3 gutted storefronts. The insides were gutted, so you could walk through all of them. And there was a kitchen area, kitchen storage, which was the waterbed where Yngwie was sleeping. And I can't tell you how many roaches there were around the stove. Then there was the main room. Ron slept in one little cubby hole area on one side with a curtain around it. Mark slept on a mattress on some milk crates over by the bathroom. Then it was the rehearsal room, and off to the side of the rehearsal room was my room. I was like, a storefront like that. So there was nothing between us and the street but glass windows that were blacked out.
Wow, yeah.
So I'm assuming this is happening before the album, right?
Oh yeah.
So how do you maintain the peace in order to keep Yngwie in the band to get the album done if you're auditioning guitar players 3 feet away from him?
Well, the day after I don't know, 4 or 5 guitar players worth of auditions, Yngwie finally comes up to Ron and goes, "Look, all right, let's just do this. All right, I'll learn the songs. Let's just do this. Let's get it done." So that's when it all came together, and we became so tight. You couldn't slip a piece of paper in between us. We rehearsed for hours, take a break, rehearse for hours, take a break next day, rehearse for hours, There was a huge industrial clear plastic bag tacked to the wall outside the rehearsal room, and it was filled with those yellow earphone plugs. Looked like a bag of popcorn. And you go in the rehearsal room, you stick your hand in the bag, grab a pair of earplugs like that. And then we go in there and you could hear it from the street. You could hear it through the walls of us rehearsing. We were that loud. And we rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. And wasn't long after that, the first gig offer came in, which was, I think, March 11th of 83. And we got it. We were opening for Hughes Thrall.
Far out.
Yeah.
Which was Glenn Hughes and Pat Thrall.
Yeah.
And so that was my baptism by fire. And everybody who was anybody was at that show.
Wow.
And so it's how it came together. And these guys were all, nobody had stage clothes. I mean, Mark, our drummer, Mark Edwards, he was wearing just like gym shorts and sneakers. He didn't even wear a shirt. Mark was like Tommy Aldridge.
Yeah.
He looked like Tommy. Looked a little like Tommy. Tommy was one of his aspiring look to inspirations. So he kind of had that Tommy Aldridge look. And he was from Texas. So Ron didn't really have that. Ron had some stage clothes. Yngwie had no stage clothes. Here comes Rik Fox with a bag full of stage clothes. Okay, let me open the bag. Yngwie, you can wear this. Mark, you can wear that. Ron, you can wear this, like that. And so I was dressing the guys there because I had stage clothes I brought with me from Jersey eventually. All my E. Walker band, all my stage clothes came out. So I had stuff to loan everybody for pictures and shows and whatnot.
How long did this version of Steeler stay together?
Our first show was March 11th of 83 till the end of May. And we did the Roxy, short. We did Perkins Palace, supporting Quiet Riot, right when Mental Health went to #1. That was a hell of a show.
I bet.
Yeah, we played a lot of shows packed into those several months like that.
I think you guys played the Stone in San Francisco.
Not the Stone. It was what the hell was it called?
Mabuhay Gardens?
No, it wasn't Mabuhay.
On Broadway?
No, it was oh shit, it's on the tip of my tongue. It was, we weren't even scheduled to play there. We were up in Katati at the Rising Sun. We were recording the album. And Yngwie's fans, the grapevine was burning up that he was in San Francisco, somewhere thereabouts. We were about 50 miles or so north of San Francisco recording the album at Prairie Sun. And they were demanding that this club get Malmsteen in there to play because he had all his fan base.
Yeah, tape traders and such.
Exactly.
Knew about
Bingo.
him, yeah.
That was it. And so we had, they asked us to come down and in the middle of the recording to drive back down to San Francisco and do the show with them. And the audience was like, you could go right down the center of the audience. Everybody from the middle over to Yngwie's side was all Malmsteen fans, with most Tape Trader fans. And from the middle over to the other side was the Steeler fans.
Yeah.
And I've heard the bootleg tapes that somebody had by the soundboard of that show. And some of the people saying some of the most derogatory things into that tape recorder about us and about how Malmsteen was God.
Well, you're keeping it real, because these are stories that I am aware of, just because of like fanzines, the tape trading people have put out and written articles about said show.
Was it the Old Waldorf?
Old Waldorf, right?
Old Waldorf.
Okay, far out. Yeah,
that's
infamous, and the show is quite infamous.
Yeah, and we were in Y&T country.
Yes.